OBM, the preferred provider of copiers and document services for your Cleveland Browns. They'll tackle any size office. That number is 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. We go around the league, presented by Leaf Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. This is a pretty messy, is a nice way to put it, a situation that has happened between Jacksonville and Tampa over the last 48 hours. So the way that I understand this is this way. Buccaneers general manager Jason Licht gave his then offensive coordinator Liam Cohen an offer that would make him the highest paid coordinator in the NFL by a wide margin. He accepted that position. One of the things that was contingent of this is that he did not talk to Jacksonville again, as I understand it.
So he had pulled his name on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then the next day Jason Licht made them this offer to be the highest paid coordinator.
And part of the condition of signing accepting was you can't go talk to Jacksonville again. Jacksonville then fired general manager Trent Baalke, which changed everything for Cohen. Bucs brass were waiting for Cohen to sign the contract, which he never did. Multiple attempts to reach him by phone failed. Cohen then said he was tending to a personal matter and asked to sign the contract at a later date. But during the 5 o'clock hour yesterday, Cohen called head coach Todd Bowles and told him he was still dealing with his personal matter. He also told him that things had materially changed in Jacksonville and that he was going to travel there to explore the opening. With it, an hour of that phone call, a Bucs staffer got tipped off by someone in the Jaguars facility that Cohen was already in the building. He is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are we sure it's official? Because can Tampa claim tampering here? I mean, he never signed the deal?
He never signed it, and he's also – it's a upward mobility, so I don't think so. It's bad business. So the deal that Jacksonville gave him, I was reading this morning, the deal that he's going to ink in Jacksonville is going to make him like one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. Does anybody know if he can coach?
I'm not aware. I'm not sure.
Like he was the offensive coordinator in Tampa. What else?
I don't know what else he's done. It's crazy, and this is the way I looked at it. If Jacksonville would have just cleaned house GM and coach on the same day instead of keeping Trent Baalke around, because clearly he was the sticking point. Because once they got rid of Baalke, all of a sudden Cohen's back in the mix, and he's going up to Jacksonville, and he's meeting. But I don't think it's a great look for Cohen at all.
Here's his his path, and you appreciate the hustle. Starting in 2010, he's 39 years old. He was the quarterback coach at Brown, then the Rhode Island pass game coordinator, then the Brown quarterback coach, then the UMass pass game, Maine offensive coordinator in 2017. I'll tell you what, this is when it all flips. Somehow he gets to the Rams staff as an assistant wide receivers coach, then assistant quarterback coach of the Rams in 2020, Kentucky offensive coordinator in 21, then back to the Rams as offensive coordinator in 22. Then he's the Kentucky offensive coordinator and quarterback coach in 2023.
So he went back and forth twice?
To the Rams in Kentucky. Yeah.
That's two random programs.
Yeah. So then he goes to Tampa Bay. He's been the offensive coordinator there just 1 year. And what are we doing?
So I didn't get my way, so I went back to the Rams. And, now this job opened, and now I'm back. And
I just what is it about him that leads you – where is it in this history? Is it just the one season with Bake?
Yeah. That's what he's getting credit for. I don't know. I don't know what Jacksonville's doing. And, Tampa Bay was willing to make him the highest paid coordinator in the game. He must have some kind of magic touch. But I don't.
His offensive, who's the offensive coordinator for the Bucs in 22? Because this is
was Arians still there?
No, Arians was gone at that point. This is like the 8th, right?
Leftwich?
Was it Leftwich? So Cohen got the job as offensive coordinator on February 5th last year. So he wasn't even in the position for a full year. Oh, we replaced Dave Canales because Canales was in.
Oh, so yeah, he was the surprise hire.
That's right. So Bake's play in Tampa. This allow me some wiggle room here. Baker Mayfield's renaissance in Tampa Bay, the people who are most responsible with it from a play calling standpoint, his reputation was such that with this play calling, his career has been resuscitated. All of the things that have followed has now netted 2 people a head coaching job. The last 2 years working with Baker. That's wild.
That's very wild. I mean, who
knows?
It doesn't make any sense. A lot of hurt feelings.
But I don't understand why he's so coveted.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't understand. Like who? Maybe it works. Who knows? But Orlovsky talked about this. These coaches now these salaries in the NFL have just gone through the moon. $15 million, $16 million a year coaching that was never the case. You never saw that. And now it's becoming the norm.
Well, we talked about it yesterday. We're like, there's clearly something wrong in Jacksonville when guys are pulling their names out of the hats that have never been head coaches. I said that yesterday.
Yeah.
And then they fire Balky, and it's all of a sudden they've got their guy within 3 hours. Now, whether that was shady or not, that's to be determined.
I don't know. I think that to his call to Todd Bowles, the circumstances changed. We went from I had to work with this guy to now I can get my own GM.
Yeah.
There were all sorts of rumors that he wanted the guy who ended up going to the Raiders, who he worked with in Tampa Bay, to go be the GM with him there. But that guy's already in Las Vegas, and, of course, now he has a head coach because it's reported that Pete Carroll has agreed to a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He'll be the oldest head coach in the NFL when the season starts. He is 73.
What is going on?
I think what Tom Brady wanted for Las Vegas is a culture tornado, and Pete Carroll is a culture tornado. Like, he will get them rowing in the same direction. He will get them buying in. He will provide culture. Now, they're going to have to hire somebody as either offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator who is essentially a coach in waiting, is what it's going to have to be. And that's a tough job.
I was going to say, do you see him making it through all 4 years of this contract? Probably not.
I don't know. I mean, the 2 guys who just ran for president were both 80, so maybe you can coach in the NFL in your early 70s. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it's old, but I think he's a culture tornado, and I think it makes sense I think Brady came in there. He sees what a mess it was culture-wise. We got to get somebody in here who will have a powerful voice, who will get us all rowing in the same direction. And so to me, that's what the Pete Carroll hiring is about there. That job is a tough job. You are in the same division. By the way, think of the coaches in that division.
Correct. That's where I was going.
Reed, Carroll, Harbaugh, Peyton.
Yeah.
3 Super Bowl champions, 1 national champion. Harbaugh to a Super Bowl. The quarterbacks are Herbert, Nix, Mahomes, and fill in the blank for the Raiders. That's a tough job. That's a very tough
you've got an owner that's kind of all over the place in a city that I'm not sure actually cares that you're there.
You'd know better than me. I mean, when you guys go there, what's the breakdown of – you've been there. What's the audience breakdown?
A lot of Browns fans. I mean, it was definitely a 60-40.
Them or to us? We were the 40 or we were the 60?
We were the 60.
Yeah. I bet they deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
They went from having, one of the great fan bases because they played to dump, one of the great fan bases to one that now, like, it's everybody's, let's go to that away game. Let's go to Vegas, have that be the away game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the true fan travel, our partners.
Yeah.
They've got 3 big road packages. London, Detroit, because you're playing the Lions.
Yeah.
And Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Because we're back in Vegas next
too. But yes. I guess you have a casino, though, in Detroit, so you could casino it up.
There you go.
Everybody's got casinos.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's it. I think there is going to be, and just to bring this back to us a little bit, there's going to be a great deal of intrigue leading up to the Combine, coming out of the Combine, through free agency. I think much of it will be sorted out by the time we get to April, but in terms of what happens at the top of this draft and what these teams that are all quarterback needy decide to do in the draft and how they decide to handle it, how they address quarterbacks. It's going to be fascinating how they do it. And the Raiders are at the top of that list.
Well, they've cost themselves the number 1 or number 2 pick because they kept winning.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
but you're at the top of the board. I mean, you think obviously we're sitting there at 2. Tennessee controls it. You heard comments from their general manager this week talking about if there's generational talent, we'll take it. There's a video going around of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders working out, and Shedeur calls himself generational, and Cam says, "I'm glad you think that." And then Shedeur says, "Yeah, Trav going number 1," like that type of stuff. So who knows what comes of it? But Tennessee's got to figure out quarterback. We've got to figure out quarterback.
I mean, the
Giants
Raiders don't pick till 6.
I know it. The first 3 all have to figure out quarterback. Patriots and Jacksonville's picking 5th. That job could be good right now. That's a good job. I like that roster. Vegas needs one at 6. They've got to get it figured out at quarterback. Jets got to get quarterback figured out. They're at 7. Carolina doesn't. New Orleans does. They're at 9. Bears are 10. And then it's kind of sorts out in terms of the quarterbacks, and you start getting to here's Indianapolis at 14. Are they still going to run with that kid?
I don't know. He can't complete a pass from me to you.
No, he cannot. No. So there's a lot of quarterback need in this draft, and not enough to go around.
I mean, Jordan Reed was on with us a couple weeks ago. He's like, I think there's 2 quarterbacks that are first-round worthy.
Did he
now,
have
does
Cam
someone
and
play
Shedeur?
themselves up?
Cam and Shedeur were the only 2. I saw McShay with this. I talked about Jackson Dart last week on the show. McShay was really hyped about what he saw from him on tape. The funny thing is on Kuiper's big board at quarterback, he had Shedeur 1, and then he's got Cam Ward 2. His 3 is Milroe. Pretty sure it's in that order. I'll pull it up real quick just so we get it straight. I know it goes Shedeur, Cam, Milroe 3. Come on, get there. All right, yeah. Then he has Jackson Dart 3, Milroe 4, and then it goes Kyle McCord, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers 5, 6, 7, Dylan Gabriel 8, Curtis Rourke 9, Tyler Show out of Louisville is 10. All 3 Buckeye quarterbacks go 5, 6, 7. McCord 5, played last year at Syracuse, of course. Will Howard, who we all just saw win the national championship on Monday night, and then Quinn Ewers. If you would have told me that somehow Quinn Ewers would be slotted on a big board behind Kyle McCord and Will Howard, and they were all Buckeyes at one point, I would have said you're nuts. But that's how far Quinn Ewers fell in the eyes of evaluators. There is a report out there right now that Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State has been offered $4.5 million to transfer somewhere, and I believe that number. I don't know about the number is true, but I know that a monster offer came to him. Their other receiver had a monster offer as well, Carnell Tate, and they're trying to who do we keep? How do we pay all these people? That's what they're dealing with down there. But if a receiver, as good as Jeremiah Smith is, if a receiver's worth 4.5, if that offer is legitimate, or it's going to take 5 for them to keep him at Ohio State, and he's generational, what would Ewers be worth on 1 year? What would Quinn Ewers be worth for 1 year at Notre Dame or Texas A&M or Oregon? Is he worth 8?
Yeah.
And honestly, if he's the 7th quarterback off the board, I mean, that's 4th round stuff. Why wouldn't he go make the money? I would.
Again, I think that's why these guys are sticking around.
Yeah, he should. He absolutely should. I mean, this is as low as people have thought of him in terms of being a pro. Kuiper's got him number 7 overall on his board.
So is he in or is he out?
He's in right now. He hasn't pulled himself out.
I wonder when the deadline is for that.
I don't even know if that matters anymore. Like in college football, there's no rules to anything. So I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but like he could go back to college and crush it. Absolutely crush it.
Yeah, I don't know when. It doesn't say when they have to pull their name back. I'm not seeing that on the calendar.
Well, in college, nothing's enforceable. Like the kid at the safety at Wisconsin last week just went to Miami. He's not even in the portal. He just transferred to Miami, and he's on the Miami football team. So he just circumvented the portal entirely.
The NFL continuing to be drunk today.
What else?
12 minutes ago, 1 year ago, he was a hot head coaching candidate. He's now looking for work. Houston has fired their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick.
Really?
How about that?
Okay, he'll go to Vegas.
Bobby Slowick is out as the Texans OC. Per sources, in the span of 1 year, Slowick went from being the hot head coaching candidate to now looking for work. That's from Adam Schefter. How about them apples?
Jeez. Troy Aikman loved him.
What?
Loved him.
How does that happen? What? What?
Well, Z was always really critical of CJ all year, and I remember, and I understood it because he wasn't as good as he was the year before, but I remember Chris Sims saying, like, it ain't CJ. It's the protection. It's not him.
Well, the O-line coach got fired too.
Man. I would think Slowick could be hired pretty quick. But, yeah, he could have been a head coach last year.
Yeah.
And now he's on the outs.
So, quite the day on a Friday.
Yeah, it is. Lots of news on that side of things. All right, that is Around the League presented by Leaf Filter, the official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. The voice of your Cleveland Browns, Andrew Siciliano, going to go one-on-one with Andrew Barry coming up next. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back in. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Here is Andrew Siciliano, the voice of the Browns, with Browns general manager Andrew Berry from the Bark Tank. Let's have a listen.
General manager.
You're done. Over 12 minutes.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Jameis barked when he joined the Bark Tank. You're not going to bark.
No, you know what? That's Jameis is a very unique personality. I'm gonna leave all the barking to him and our dog pound faithful.
Fair. He was great, by the way, with the bark. Kind of caught me off guard, and I didn't know where to go from there. But let's start with you, if we could, with your end of season presser. I thought it was interesting that you opened kind of almost by bearing your soul, if you will, a little bit, and you used the word, Andrew, right out of the gate, embarrassed. Mm-hmm. Why?
I think it's the reality of, coming into a season where we felt like we had a good team. We felt like we could build off of some of the success that we had in 2023. And for us to completely, just being candid, fall flat on our face. It's just something that when you fail that spectacularly in a very public arena, it's just something that it's hard to reconcile, and it's hard to live with week to week, especially in a situation where, we're really stewards of a public asset, right? There are so many people in Northeast Ohio who, bleed brown and orange. The Cleveland Browns are about how they grow up, how they, how intricate role in their daily lives. And I think there's just a sense of disappointment and embarrassment that we let those people down this year. And we're resigned to correcting that as we move forward.
You used the word reconcile just now. How do you reconcile everything?
Yeah, I think the reality of it is, unfortunately, in professional sports, sometimes these years do happen. You'd like to think that your team will perform up to expectations, be young and in its prime, in perpetuity. And, that's not the reality of professional sports. But for us not to be able to stop the fall or stop the bleeding, so to speak, over the course of the year, that's a major problem. And it starts by, hard, self-analysis with, the roster and really everything that we did, to prepare the team, and then ultimately make the necessary adjustments, which it's not just players, it's not just coaches, not just support staff. It's, auditing everything we do from a process standpoint, and adjust those when the results haven't been satisfactory. And that doesn't mean that we don't have a number of good things in place in those areas. And also, making sure that we're not letting the emotion of the season, kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater. But, it would be naive for us not to look at this year and say, hey, this went, really, really wrong. And, we need to change our approach in some areas to correct it.
All right. You said, and obviously I think everyone knows now, considering what we just discussed here, you're going to have to remake the quarterback room. Mm-hmm. The general consensus is veteran who could potentially start if needed, and draft one as well. Is that a fair working plan, a thesis, as we sit here 3 months out?
Yeah, Andrew, I think it's too early to say. We won't restrict ourselves in terms of, the avenues that we would explore, at the position. But we also want to make sure that we're convicted on, whatever players that we bring into that room. We won't force anything in any arena, but we'll be broad in terms of how we think about the position.
Philosophically, Andrew, when it comes to the draft, there are some that just say, with a quarterback, for example, hey, I don't care where we're picking, whomever we is, whatever organization this is. If I believe in the guy, hand him the card. Like I remember the Daniel Jones conversation years ago. Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence. You took the quarterback too high. Who cares? If you think he's the guy, hand in the card. Are you one of those guys?
Yeah, I don't know that it's either or, Andrew. I think generally speaking, if you think you have a player where, you can consistently develop, above average offense around that individual's skill sets, regardless of, whether they're, a pocket passer, an out of structure playmaker, a runner, whatever that ends up being. If you feel like you can, build an offense and put together a scheme that maximizes that player's ability, which will allow you to have above average offense, I think it makes sense to take the player. Now there are value considerations that come into it. For me, whether it's a couple spots versus let's say several rounds, that's a big difference. But would I personally get caught up on a player if it's like, okay, hey, he may be the 10th best player in the draft, and it's like, okay, does that mean you have to take him at 10? No, I don't believe that's the case. Just because the impact of the position is so great.
The first round's so interesting. The Thursday night of the first round, for those of us sitting on the couch watching, it's hard to describe what's that like as a fan, because we all think, or those in the media, we all think we know how the board should fall. Mm-hmm. The last 3 years, obviously you're in the draft room, you're on the phone, you're thinking maybe can we get up potentially, maybe someone's going to call us, whatever. But have you, this might sound odd, learned anything about the first round? Like, are there lessons that maybe you've taken by watching the last 3 years without a pick?
I wouldn't say so, Andrew, that there's anything that we've learned because we haven't had a pick, because, part of it is, for every team that's on the clock in the first round, there's a lot of action that doesn't actually hit the surface, because there are a number of calls or discussions that happen when you're within a couple, picks of your slot, that you may not take, you may not act on something and that never necessarily hits like the public arena. So there are all those, experiences that happen when you have a pick in the first round that you can learn from, that you can take from, regardless of if you ended up, trading down, or sitting and picking. I think that you have seen a bit of a shift in terms of some of the positional value across the league. Particularly like at the receiver position. There was a year, probably in 2019 and 2020 where, you had a number of guys that you'd have access to in late one or even late two. That were excellent players. Like I think about, in 2019, you had guys like DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin that year, AJ Brown, who, went in the middle of the second round or later. And now, like with the impact that position has had in our game, you've seen, despite the demand of the receiver position, you see those guys got a lot earlier now. So you do see trends like that, as you sit back and observe, but I would say it's less about not being in the action and probably just more about, seeing how the league shifts and evolves, over the last 3 to 5 years.
Not to get too far down this rabbit hole here, but isn't some of that with the wide receiver, contract based, really? The top of the market now is 35 and likely above whomever hits the jackpot on the next one. And if you can lock in 5 years, in the first round or 4 in the second, and that market is exploding on second contracts, why not lock in that contract? No,
that's absolutely right. I mean, if you think about it, even when we traded for, Amari, in 2022, the top of the market was barely above 20. Now that's a $35 million position and climbing. We'll see that whenever Jamar Chase gets his extension done in the next year. And, those economic realities have certainly, influenced the trends that you see in the draft.
All right. Offensive realities here. Mike Bloomgren, new offensive line coach, former head coach at Rice. But if you go back to his days in Palo Alto, they ran the football a lot. I mean, are we going to see power 15, 18 times in a row?
It's a great question, Andrew. I don't think you'll see the days where we're running power 15, 18 times in a row. But we think Mike is a fantastic O-line coach, run game and pass game. Mike, he actually started his career under Bill Callahan with the Jets as a QC. went to Stanford, was David Shaw's one of his very first hires, implemented a lot of new things, both from a protection standpoint and a run game standpoint in Palo Alto with those great teams. One of the few like O-line coaches who's like parlayed that into a head coaching position, which he did at Rice, made them bowl eligible for like the first time in forever. He's really smart, great relationship builder, high IQ in terms of technique and fundamentals. And we think he'll be able to make a huge impact, both run and pass game.
What are your next 3 months going to be like?
Yeah. So the next 3 months are we're pretty similar, because we really do go into the off season as if we have an expansion team. So, the next several weeks are really auditing, what we do internally, really almost doing an autopsy of the season, obviously heavily involved in hiring different positions with, the coaching staff and football operations. We'll be in, full attendance to the major all-star games. We'll go in the draft meetings, combine, free agency planning. It'll be a busy spring. And, once the start of the league year opens, we'll have a plan in place with vets and, eventually transition into full-time draft planning. But, we'll be ready to go, once we're able to add, players to the roster.
Were you, like a lot of fans, keeping an eye on the Patriots and Titans results? And if so, what was that like?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat and say, yeah, we were, after our season was done, like I said, I hate how we got here, but one of the, silver linings is that it can put you in a position to have a great impact on the team with however you use, a really rare and valuable asset. Obviously our primary focus was on our players. But once I got through my exit interviews, as I was working, I did have an eye toward those games, because it does have a positive impact for us as we enter the off season.
Does that involve like screaming and yelling at the TV, or are you a passive viewer?
I'm a pretty quiet and laid back watcher. It's more observational than emotional.
Andrew, the next 3 months are going to be fascinating. Look forward to seeing you on the road, on the path to the draft, as we used to say. Yeah. I hope you get 5 minutes at one point to have a break and catch your breath in the off season. And again, thanks for doing this.
Appreciate you, Andrew. See you at the Senior Bowl.
All right, great stuff with Andrew and AB there, and that Senior Bowl is going to be here before we know it. I should add a couple of things on the Senior Bowl. Because of the late times of the national championship game, Jack Sawyer will not be participating in the Senior Bowl. No Will Howard either in that. Our guy Bubba Ventrone coaches the American team in the Super Bowl, and Andrew's going to join us next week.
Yes.
Honestly, if I'm Will Howard, I wouldn't really do any of this stuff after the way the last taste
stock
left.
is up, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll see you at Ohio State's Pro Day.
I'll see you at the Pro Day. That's what I would do if I were him, based on the way that he played there. All right, it is championship weekend. Adam Teicher, ESPN NFL Nation. He's been on the Chiefs beat for a long time. This is their 7th straight. No one can get us set for this one quite like he can. He will join us coming up next. Second hour up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, an official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. I'm Jason Gibbs. We'll get back to Bo Bishop coming up in just a few minutes. Nathan Zagura will join us as well. Right now, we go to the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted. ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs, the great Adam Teicher, joins us on the hotline. Adam, appreciate a few minutes of your time. I know it's a busy week, 20-some days off. What are the Chiefs going to look like? Are they really going to still be the same team? Yada, 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 yada. Business as usual in the divisional round last week and a win over the Texans.
Yeah, it was. And, they rust or no rust, they looked, particularly on offense, they did a lot of the same things. They showed a lot of the same it looked like the same team we'd seen for a lot of the regular season. They were sort of hoping with the last couple regular season games in which everybody played. They played Houston in Week 16 and Pittsburgh in Week 17. Those were two of their better offensive games of the season. They were sort of hoping that maybe that was the start of a trend here, but really struggled on offense against Houston, outgained by about 125 yards. So that part of it is still a work in progress. Defensively, they played pretty well with the 8 sacks. So going to need to play well again this weekend if they're going to move on to the Super Bowl.
What has been the issue with the offense? I mean, you have Mahomes, you have Andy Reid, you've got some talented pieces and parts around them, obviously with Kelsey as well. But what the offense has done just enough, which has worked. I mean, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they've got home field advantage for a big one on Sunday in the AFC Championship game. But what has the issue been with the offense?
Well, it's been a number of things, starting with injuries. They expected their big 3 at wide receiver to be Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and the rookie Xavier Worthy. And for most of the season, they just had the rookie. They just had Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice played in 3 full games, the first quarter of a 4th game, and got hurt and was out for the year. And Hollywood Brown didn't play until a Week 16 game against Houston. So most of the year they were playing with one of their big 3 on the outside, and so things were a little different. And Travis Kelce's 35 years old now and not quite what he was, although he looked pretty good against the Texans last Saturday for sure. The pass protection has not been what it was. Mahomes was sacked during the regular season 36 times. That's by far the most he's been sacked in a season. And left tackle, they're on their 4th left tackle of the season now. They've had to bench 3 other players at various times of the season, and now they moved a guard, Joe Thuney, out to left tackle, and so it's just not been what it has been in past years. So, that's definitely affected Mahomes. So, their biggest problems, they just have been unable to get the big play. They just, that's what we've known the Chiefs for so many years. But this year, they have really struggled getting the big plays, and they're still hopeful that can happen. But it's getting pretty late, so they better get on that if they're going to make it happen.
What is going to happen with the left tackle? Will it be Thuney on Sunday, we think? Or I know that last week there were 2. It was Thuney and I believe someone else was working out at that position all week. But it'll be Thuney, I would have to assume, till further notice.
Yeah. They had DJ Humphries. He's a veteran that they signed late in the year. He played a number of years for Arizona. They picked him up late in the year, but then he did not play well, got hurt. He's healthy now and ready to go, but at this point, Thuney has at least stopped the bleeding over there. So that's the way they feel is best for them to go forward here, and we'll see if the Bills can take advantage. Thuney did not play left tackle against the Bills; he was at guard when they played the Bills in Week 11. So we'll see how the Bills attack him and how successful they are.
Talking with Adam Teicher, ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs in his 32nd year covering the Kansas City Football Chiefs as we get ready for the AFC Championship game. Do the Chiefs prefer mid-afternoon or do they prefer the evening?
Yeah, I think they'd rather play earlier in the day and get this thing going. But at least out here it's 5:30. At least it's not the night games that they've had so many of, and some of those have been on the East Coast, so it's 8 8-15 or 8-20. At least it's not that. So, and I always feel like the weighting is harder on the road team maybe than the home team. So, it works both ways. But yeah, if they had their pick, they'd play an earlier start for sure.
Patrick Mahomes 1-4 versus Buffalo in the regular season, but 3-0 in the playoffs. Who does Pat Mahomes view more as a rival? Is it Josh Allen or is it Joe Burrow?
Both, really. Both
Okay.
guys have they've had some great games against the Bills. I mean, everybody remembers the divisional round game 2 years ago. It's known in Kansas City as the 13-second game because that's when the Chiefs got the two big passes in 13 seconds to get into field goal range to put the game in overtime, and the Chiefs scored in overtime to win and move on to the AFC Championship game. There was that. They combined, I think, the two of them for 7 touchdowns and 770 some yards. So it was quite a game, quite a show by those two guys. And then last year's playoff game between the Chiefs and Bills in the divisional round in Buffalo was quite an interesting game as well. So they've had their great games. The Chiefs and the Bengals, even in the regular season, have had some great matchups. So I think it's 1A and 1B really.
Is the pressure on Josh Allen or is it on Mahomes Sunday? I've seen some of the national pundits, some of the national shows are like, this is Mahomes' legacy. And I go, well, here's a man that's already, he's won 3 Super Bowls already. I think the legacy is planted. I mean, but is the pressure more on Josh Allen or is it on Patrick Mahomes?
Again, I think it's 1A and 1B. I think it just depends on how you look at it. I mean, what's the talk going to be around Josh Allen if the Bills lose this game? And whether it's deserved or not, and it probably won't be, but it'll be there.
Sure.
And Mahomes, hey, no one's, I don't think, going to question him if the Chiefs don't win this game. And yet, look what he's trying to play for here. Whatever, being the first NFL quarterback to lead a team to 3 Super Bowl championships. I mean, that's quite a carrot there. So, he's playing for a lot himself. So I think both these guys have a lot on the line, no doubt.
Regular season, Buffalo wins. They forced Mahomes into 2 turnovers. This is a Buffalo team that does force a lot of turnovers. But it was also the Chiefs' third down defense against the Bills. The Bills converted 9 of 15 on third down in that Week 11 win. Buffalo with 71 offensive plays. Kansas City just had 52. I know we talk about Chris Jones. We talk about that secondary for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I feel like the guy that's probably going to have to be the main cog for Kansas City outside of Chris Jones is George Karlaftis. Would you agree that he's the guy that could make or break this defense against Buffalo?
Yeah, he's been a big part in their the sort of increased production of their pass rush here. I mean, the Chiefs had 21 sacks in their first 11 games, and were just having incredible difficulty getting any kind of pressure when they didn't blitz during that stretch of games. And it's a coincidence maybe that the last of those games was the Buffalo game, and they didn't sack Josh Allen at all that day. And then since then, the Chiefs have had 26 sacks in the 7 games, counting the 8 against Houston the other day. So they've really turned up the pressure defensively, and you're right. I mean, you look at that first game against the Bills. The Bills had the ball 34 minutes. They ran 71 plays to 52 for the Chiefs. If there's that kind of imbalance again, I think the Chiefs are really going to be up against it to try to win the game. I mean, you can't give a good team that kind of advantage in terms of number of plays and time of possession. So Chiefs are going to have to do better at getting the Bills off the field, and certainly a disciplined pass rusher against a great running quarterback is going to be part of that. And eager to see how the Chiefs attack that. Do they blitz as much as they did against Houston? Do they not do that? What their tactics are going to be to try to prevent Josh Allen from converting all these third downs like he did the last time around.
Is this the best version of Josh Allen that you've seen in your time covering this rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen him in person once, but he was great against the Chiefs that day, and what I've been able to catch of him in other times, I'm sure he's playing as well. That's why I thought that the Chiefs would be better off playing Baltimore in this round rather than the Bills. Hey, Lamar Jackson was having a great season, but just not as consistent maybe as Josh Allen. I don't think he's quite as resourceful as Josh Allen, so. I think the Chiefs would have been better off had this been the matchup would be better for them had they been playing the Ravens.
The Kansas City Chiefs will be playing for a third straight Super Bowl if they do what on Sunday?
If they can, the Bills have lived all year off turnovers. I mean, they have not incredibly not lost the turnover battle all year long. I mean, they were +3 right against Baltimore last week and still only won the game by 2 points. So they're living off these turnovers. If the Chiefs can, and the Chiefs have done a great job recently in protecting the ball. They haven't turned it over in quite some time. If they can be even or better in the turnovers, not shorten any, not cost themselves any possessions or chances to score points or anything like that with turnovers, and maybe get a turnover or two on the Bills themselves, I think they can win. I think that's their path to win the game. But if this game is going to be played like the last one, where the Bills are going to have again a huge advantage in turnovers, offensive snaps, time of possession, then I think that gets really difficult for the Chiefs.
All right. I know it's been made mention of. I had mentioned it earlier, 32 years covering the Kansas City Chiefs. You're stepping away at the end of the season. I'm hoping selfishly we get one more chance to talk to you and we can preview a little Super Bowl talk here. We appreciate all the time that you've ever given us. Is there a moment that stands out in the 32 years? Is there a favorite person that you enjoy talking to the most, or is there something that's happened that really just stands out to you as one of the pinnacle moments of your career covering this football team?
Um, Not one specific story or one specific person or one specific moment, but I think just the Chiefs, every once in a while, my first, whatever it was, 20 or so years covering the team would have a good team, but they never could finish the job. And for most of the time, they really had no idea how to go about building a consistent winner, and just seeing from what they were for so many years and how they just really had no idea to become this kind of franchise, to finally getting there and being the it franchise. That's really been, fun to see. That's been interesting to see how they've transformed themselves. And it's easy to forget. I think it was the 6 seasons before Andy Reid got to the Chiefs, they won 4 or fewer games in 4 of those 6 seasons. I mean, that's ancient history now, but I still remember those days, and it just seemed like they were lost and would never find their way out. And so the Browns could certainly get to this point. I mean, it's hard to see right now. I get that, but hey, if the Chiefs could do it, certainly the Browns could do it. No doubt about it.
Well, I hope we get a chance to talk to you again here in this season. If not, I wish you and your wife health and happiness, and congratulations on an amazing career, and look forward to talking with you again soon, Adam. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Jason. It's been a lot of fun over the years.
We'll be back with more of Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, an official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, after this quick timeout on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Morgan Wallen is bringing his I'm the Problem tour to Huntington Bank Field. It's August 15th and 16th. Country sensations Miranda Lambert, Thomas Rhett, Ella Langley join. Tickets go on sale January 31st, huntingtonbankfield.com/Morgan Wallen. Don't miss out on this must-see summer show. I saw something like in the last, he has like the number one selling album in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Was him.
Would
I know any of his songs?
You would.
Really? So
Yeah.
if I heard him, I'd know him?
Yep, absolutely. He's doing 2 nights. I mean, that's
2 nights.
That's
That's a hell of a
nights. Downtown Cleveland will be insane. That's right in the middle of the Browns preseason.
Yeah, you're right.
So would that mean that
you're on the
we're
road?
going to be on the road
That week you'll be on the road. Yeah, I'll tell you that. Miranda Lambert, Thomas Rhett, Ella Langley. There you go.
Looking forward to it.
That'll be fun.
I mean, that's the 80's already hit me up.
She's ready to go. You
Shocking development. Go ahead and pay for that yourself, 80. I'll give you the code to pre-sale.
I tell you what, she's got all the Bootsy baby watching she wants. I mean, we can get that thing all greased up and ready to go. You got Buddy Garrity, Bootsy, between the two.
In for all of that.
She's good. Good to go. She does such a great job with the boys. They love her. Lots going on in the NFL world.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about the AFC Championship game in a second, and the NFC, but just if you're just joining us, lots going on. So it is official in Jacksonville with Liam Cohen.
Yes.
They tweeted out an image saying, Teal looks good on you, coach. So that is a convoluted path to get him to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, it is made possible, of course, because of the firing of Trent Baalke, and we were wondering, is that something that had to happen first? And indeed it did. Then Cohen reversed course, and he returned and is now going to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you have that. So that happened earlier this morning. Then a little bit later, Pete Carroll agreed to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. That's a reportedly. And sources on that. That one's not official yet, but it's
Correct.
headed towards him being
Yes.
the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's happening as well. On the coordinator side of things, the Texans have fired offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick after 2 seasons. I read an incredible tweet on this that I thought was very good perspective on news being broken. It was a buddy of mine, Heath Klein, does radio down in Atlanta. He tweeted this out. I thought it made a ton of sense. This is a great example of why you need to follow the people who cover the team. National people are shocked at the firing of Slowick. Nobody who covers the team is shocked at the firing of Slowick. That's the difference.
It's a great point.
Is that there is this perception nationally that Slowick was this boy genius, like give him the keys to the kingdom with the Cowboys, everything. But locally, they're like, actually, there were some problems here, including some issues with C.J. Stroud, where he wasn't maybe crazy about it. And there was a much different story being told, boots on the ground in Houston, than the perception was nationally. I thought that was a good point.
If we had time today, I would put the general on.
Yeah.
He would tell you 100%.
No doubt he would. No doubt he would.
Shad Khan, by the way, released a statement. To repeat my message earlier this week, I'm deeply committed to building a winner here in Jacksonville. I also believe in being judged by actions, not words. That's why I took swift and decisive action this week to hire Liam Cohen as the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am pumped that Liam is accepting the challenge and opportunity to build the winner that Jags fans and partners fully deserve. I know our players feel the same.
They just got to do it. They just got to do it. They have everything else. I mean, to me, they have all of it. So, yeah. That's a really nice job. I don't know if Liam Cohen could coach at all. Who knows?
I don't know
Know
either.
very little about the guy.
Yep, gonna find out.
I think it's odd that he went from Rams to Kentucky, back to Rams, back to Kentucky before going to Tampa Bay, but whatever. He's the guy there now. In terms of the schedule for this weekend, your 3 o'clock game is your NFC Championship game. That is the Commanders and the Eagles. The Eagles trying to get back to the Super Bowl. They've been frequently in the Super Bowl here in the last decade. The Commanders, that franchise, trying to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time since 1991. That's Mark Rippon on that team in 1991. They're trying to get back for the first time since then. Ironically enough, the team they played in 91 was the Buffalo Bills, and potentially they could have a Super Bowl rematch there. The 6:30 game is the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs as public enemy number one in all of this. It's kind of the Batman line, right? If you're the hero, you're hero long enough, you become the villain. There's a little bit of that with them. There wasn't anybody at the beginning, the first few years with Mahomes, who didn't think this is the most fun I've ever had watching football. It just was. Now, they don't play that way anymore. They don't have the weaponry, so they've kind of changed how they go about their business. And their style of play is very, very different. But 7 straight AFC championships for them, trying to do something that's never been done, which is win 3 straight Super Bowls, and they're 2 wins away from it. It does feel to me that the winner, the way that I talked earlier in the show about the NFC championship versus the AFC championship when I was a kid, and the NFC being like the Super Bowl, kind of feel that way about the AFC here. It feels like Bills or Chiefs, I'd like either one against either one of the NFC teams.
Yeah. I think the AFC championship, a lot of people would say that might be your Super Bowl.
That's kind of where I'm at.
And Adam Teicher, I just said, I go, who's the bigger rival for Mahomes? Is it Allen or is it Burrow? He goes, 1A, 1B, however you see it.
Yeah.
And then I said, who does this game, from an importance standpoint for them personally, does it mean more for Mahomes or Allen? Now, the first thing you'd say is, well, Josh Allen, because Josh Allen hasn't gotten to the mountaintop yet.
Yeah, right.
And Mahomes has. But I've seen national narrative all week, like on Get Up and a few others. One of the McCourty twins was saying, this is more important for Mahomes. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
It's more important for Mahomes if he wants to track down Tom Brady. It's kind of like LeBron, right? LeBron trying to track down Jordan. Is Mahomes going to get to 7 Super Bowl championships? No, I don't think so. I don't think that he is. But if he can do something that Brady didn't, winning 3 in a row, then you can start to have that conversation. That's like LeBron. For LeBron, he was never going to get to 6 titles that Jordan has. He's got the 4. But he did something Jordan didn't do. He's the all-time leading scorer in the history of the league, and he played at the highest level for 20 years. So his claim, he changed the argument on greatest of all time. It's funny, you ask my kids and they'll say LeBron. They will. Like that's their
Sure.
like, they don't have a point of reference on Jordan.
Correct.
Other than the sneakers. Like that's it. So they'll ask me and I say Jordan. And I think the same will be true here. So if Mahomes can get his 3rd consecutive, then that'll be his 4th all time. It'll be his 3rd consecutive, and it allows him to change the dialogue around it from what it was. He now changes the argument. He says, "Well, now Brady didn't do this. I did something he didn't do." So that's something where I think overall the answer is Allen, because he hasn't been there and he could get his first. And I mean, can you imagine a Super Bowl championship in Buffalo? That'd be like here.
Yes, correct. I'm watching the game. One of my best friends is a Bills fan. I am watching it with him and his wife Sunday night. It could go a multitude of different ways.
I'm going to give you 4 places.
I might not be able to make it in on Monday.
I'm going to give you 4 places that it would just be different if they ever won it. I think 3 are just very easy in Buffalo, Cleveland, and Detroit. Us and those 2 would be totally different. I also think it would be that way in Minnesota. They don't get the credit, I think, a large part because they, oddly enough, I know it's weird, because they play in dome. Like, people don't see the long suffering because they've always played in a dome. Minnesota played for a bunch of Super Bowls in the 70s. They've gotten close a bunch. There's a bunch of heartache. That is a great fan base. That place would go nuts if they ever won the Super Bowl
Absolutely.
in Minnesota. So I think those 4 are kind of just built a little bit different when it comes to if you ever pop the cap on winning a Super Bowl, it would be pretty special. All right, in order for us to win a Super Bowl, we would certainly love to do so while Myles Garrett is still in the mix. Our position reviews continue now with Dr. Z, and he's in the edge rusher room.
and that is he's going into his 4th year now, the final year of his rookie deal. He was the Browns' 3rd-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. So much promise at the end of 23. You really thought this would be a breakout season for him, and unfortunately it was derailed due to an injury, and he spent the better part of the season on injured reserve. So you thought it was going to be Alex Wright. Well, you also probably thought Obo Okoronkwo. And Obo Okoronkwo, a veteran, the Browns signed him to a 3-year, $19 million deal prior to the 23 season. This was his 2nd year with the Cleveland Browns and had a solid season, but it wasn't on par with his first year here with the Cleveland Browns. Now, he was available, which was great, played in 16 games. He's so tough. But in his first year with the Browns, he had 4.5 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss. This year, he had 3 sacks and 5 tackles for a loss. He did make 5 starts, which was the most he had made since 2022 there in Houston. So made 5 starts. He got some opportunities. He did play well. But the guy who really took advantage of these opportunities, the guy that I think elevated his stock in this building more than anybody headed into 2025 was Isaiah McGuire. McGuire, in just his 2nd season out of Missouri, he was the Browns' 4th-round pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Isaiah McGuire, in his 2nd year, really showed something, I think, special. He's going to be going into his 3rd year next year and really took a leap forward. Got to start 3 games at the end of the year, played a lot of snaps, and the more he played, the better he played. He would finish the season with 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, tied with Myles Garrett for the team league. He would have 8 tackles for a loss, 9 quarterback hits, 36 tackles overall. But when you go in as well and take a look here at some of the advanced stats, and we'll use Pro Football Focus as this, and I think they did a pretty good job. Their top 3 defensive players of the year for the Browns, 1 was Myles Garrett, number 3 was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You know who number 2 was? It was Isaiah McGuire. That's right, Isaiah McGuire. He would finish the team on the season 3rd on the team in pressures. We talked about the sacks. We talked about tied for the lead in forced fumbles. But it was his run defense that was so incredible. He really set the edge. He did a great job there, showed real growth as a pass rusher, but was excellent against the run. And Isaiah McGuire is somebody that I think right now you could pencil in and say, you know what, that's your starter opposite Myles Garrett and feel really good about it. And you're going to get Alex Wright back. You've got Obo under contract for another year. So you feel pretty good there about your top 4, even with Za'Darius moving on. It felt like the Browns had 5 for 4 spots. Well, now you've got 4. Could they address it in the draft? Of course, we talked about that. This is a draft where you're always looking to add talent, and that is a premier position. But I think Isaiah McGuire has shown between he and Alex Wright, with the flash he showed in his 2nd year, that you gave those 2 guys healthy, you've got a nice rotation. You've got guys that can play inside, outside versatility. You've got everything you want, I think, from Jim Schwartz there with those 4. Now, some other names that we need to mention, because a couple of guys joined this team late and actually played pretty darn well. And one of those is Cam Thomas. Cameron Thomas, a former 3rd-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals in 2022. Browns claimed him off of waivers, spent time with Kansas City. He is in the last year, entering the last year of his rookie deal. And I'll tell you what, you talk about a guy who didn't get a lot of snaps, didn't get a lot of time, but made sure that when he was on the field, it was impactful. That's Cam Thomas. 5 games played. He had a sack, 11 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, quarterback hit. He had 1 game in which he played 8 snaps and had a sack, a tackle for a loss, a couple of tackles. It was basically every play he was on the field. He did something good with it. And so Cameron Thomas is a guy that certainly can be in the mix for the Cleveland Browns. He's got 4 sacks on his career. I'm interested in what he showed in the limited time that he was with us. Spent some time with Kansas City, as I said earlier this year. Then the Browns claimed him, and he played pretty well for them. Out of San Diego State, a 3rd-round pick, as I said, in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Browns also claimed James Houston. And James Houston's an interesting one. Just some flashes with the Cleveland Browns, but when you look at his career numbers, had just an outrageous season early in his career with the Detroit Lions. And so James Houston is a guy that's proven he can be productive at the NFL level. And what do I mean by that? Well, early in his career with Detroit, he had a season in which he was able to get to the quarterback at an unbelievable clip. Back in 2022, his rookie year, in 7 games with 2 starts, he had 8 sacks, 11 hits, 7 tackles for a loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Now, since then, we haven't seen that. Just 2 sacks total since then, both with the Detroit Lions. Now, he was with the Lions for 8 games this year. They move on from him. The Browns claimed him. He did not produce a stat for the Browns in just 3 appearances. But look, if you can rack up 8 sacks in 7 games, there's something to that. Now, you would say, okay, he's only had 1 sack since then, so he's got 9 sacks on his career in 20 games. It's not bad, but 8 and 7 games, there's something there. He was a former 6th-round pick of the Lions out of Florida, went to Jackson State as well. So he was in the mix and another guy the Browns can look at. And then there is Ellerson Smith, a former 4th-round pick of the Giants, who played a few games with the Browns this season, ended up playing in 2 games this year. He picked up 2 tackles, and that was it. But you saw him. You noticed him when he was on the field. So some in-house options, which is good there. But right now going into it, you're talking about this is a room, unlike the offensive tackle room, the edge room is a room where you know who's going to be here. Miles is going to be here. Alex Wright's going to be here. Isaiah McGuire is going to be here. Obo's under contract. Cam Thomas, James Houston, Ellerson Smith. These are guys that the Browns all have the ability to retain if they want to. So this is a room that should have continuity. Obviously, you want to drive competition. This is a room where, some moves could be made. There could be some surprise cuts, especially if the Browns draft an edge early. So something to keep an eye on. But this is a room that if you're the Cleveland Browns, you got to feel pretty good about where you are right now and also where you are going forward into 2025.
All right, there you go. Great job out of Dr. Z. He will join us live coming up next. He will join on the Twisted Tea hotline for a take a look at some scores, some over-unders as well. Fun and frivolity ahead. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Dr. Z joins on the Twisted Tea Hotline presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland, for scores and over-unders. Where are you right now?
I am just outside of security at a Newark International Airport. I was in the line, but then the phone rang and they said you cannot be on your phone, and so I had to get out of the line. But I think I would have made it because Kev called me. There's 2 minutes of commercials. I probably would have made it through. But now I've reset my progress. But I do that because I love you and I love Cleveland Browns daily.
Oh, we love you. Do you have clear in the TSA pre and all that?
Yeah, I got clear.
So you're zipping right through. So you weren't like Atlanta on a Monday where you were, 2 miles outside.
I would not have gotten out of that line. If I was SVP, I would not have gotten out of that line.
Not getting out of that line. No.
I'm sorry. Sorry, get back.
Sorry. Wish you the best, boys. Scores will have to wait.
Yeah.
All right.
Scores are going to have to wait.
We got a lot of business to get through here. Let's start with a little game we like to call over or under.
What happened last
I'll tell you what happened. We have ourselves an even Steven race.
Oh, God.
Gibbe.
So I lost the 2. What were the 2?
Hi,
Gibbe
sweetheart.
went 4-1. Hi, sweetheart. Gibbe went 4-1. You went 2-3. The 2 you lost that he won, Patrick Mahomes over 249.5.
Yeah.
You went over on that. He was at 177.
Yep.
And then the other one you got was Lamar pass attempts. Gibbe had the under 27.5. You had the over. So those two, he got them both.
Was it?
He went under with 25.
Oh.
Just missed it.
All Mark Andrews has to do is catch
Yo.
a little 2-point conversion.
Hate to see it, baby.
And
Hate
then
to see it.
Then we're in overtime.
So,
Come on.
we're
By the
even
way,
Steven.
pass attempts on 2-point conversions should count.
I agree. I'll tell you something else. What's pretty wild about this? So you're both 6-6, you're both 6-4. So you both went even throughout the season on the over/unders, 500, and now you're 2 games over, and again you're tied. You, Gibbe,
Yep.
2. We got 2 weeks of over/unders left. All
That's
right. Here we go. Gibbe, you go first. Saquon Barkley, longest rush of the game, 27.5.
Oh, boy. Under.
Under for Gibbe.
I'm going to go under as well. I think that is going to be a huge priority. Not that it's always easy to stop them, but that's a significant run.
That's a big run.
That doesn't happen every week. Yeah.
I think the G-Man sickness is coming into play because he put these together.
Yeah, he's the off-season committee. He's the off-season. He's the playoffs over/unders committee. Next,
He's been good.
Over, under.
Jaden Daniels, over/under Zagura, 225.5 passing yards.
Over.
Gibbe,
225.
225.5.
He took over. I got to go. I'm going to go over.
Over 2.
Conditions are good.
All right.
Weather doesn't look like it's going to be a factor in
Did he
either
throw
game.
for like 800 yards against them last time?
He did. Yeah, it was a big one. Yeah. Next,
Over, under.
Gibbe, this one to you. Josh Allen, over/under 49.5 rushing yards.
Over.
Over.
And the Bills
Gibbe.
going to the Super Bowl.
Let's go. Nobody circles the wagons.
I'm gonna go under on that one.
Okay.
I think he's gonna be great in short yardage, but 49, that's a lot of rushing yards.
It is. Next.
Over, under.
All right, we're looking for Xavier Worthy, receiving yards.
God.
Zagura, 51.5.
Jesus, G-Man. What the?
That's a big number
I don't.
for him.
Come
To
on,
me, I think
what are
that's
we-
high. The over/under
That feels
committees
high to
feels
me as
that
well.
seems high to me, but I don't know.
That's just one big play to him though that'll do
True,
that.
you're right.
But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go under. By the way, the line it's like magic. It's a million people have just shown up.
Oh,
Perfect.
I
When's your
literally
flight?
watched this happen. I'm good. 4:00.
oh, you safe.
You're already there.
Yeah, you're safe.
3:57.
You're gonna.
Yeah, I should
that's
be
easy.
okay.
You're fine. More than fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Xavier Worthy, receiving
Under.
yards. Under.
under?
Okay, so far, just the one difference. And finally, next,
Over, under.
Mahomes and Allen, Gibbe, combined passing touchdowns. 5.5.
Under.
Under for Gibbe.
My number is 5.
All right, Dr. Z.
Passing touchdowns or total touchdowns?
Combined passing touchdowns, 5.5.
Only passing.
Yep.
Under.
All right. Just
So
the
now
one
this
difference.
comes down to whether or not Josh Allen's runs for 50 yards or not.
Yes, it does. That's what it's come down to in terms of who leads heading into the Super Bowl.
That's outrageous.
That's where we are.
That's outrageous. I might just switch mine on that, and we'll just take it to the Super Bowl tied.
Well, you're in a state of distress. You were in a security line, and now you're not. The line is now bigger. You're not even thinking straight.
Yeah. I'm not thinking straight at all. I don't have my iPad. I got nothing. I got no information.
No information.
G-Man's not thinking straight. We're going to even it up. We're taking this right to the Super Bowl. This week we're just enjoying football for the pureness of the game.
Our pets' heads are falling off edition of over-unders. All right, we got some scores. We got scores. We got to do scores. We gotta do it
NFC
quick.
Championship game, Commanders, Eagles, fly, 3 o'clock on Fox, Zagura.
I'm going to keep riding them. I'm going to dance with what bugged me, and that's the Commanders, the Commies. Give me the Commies winning it outright, going to the Super Bowl.
Love it.
20.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I like Eagles win. Close game. I think it's a great game. Give me the Eagles 31-28, so same but different. The over-under on this is 47.5. What say you?
Over.
I think over, too.
I'd like it to be. More fun.
The late game, 6:30 Sunday night, CBS, Bills, Chiefs, rivalry renewed. Bishop. I'm never going against him. You
I did this last
once.
year in this game in Buffalo.
Yeah.
This is the time to get him. Didn't. I'm never going against him again. Chiefs, I think a gross game. I don't think it's going to be 38-35. I like Chiefs winning 21-17.
Have we ever been in a situation where the defending two-time champions
1 minute. 1 minute.
the regular season is somehow an underdog in this game and nobody's giving them a chance?
No, they're favored.
It's without precedent, right?
Chiefs are favored by a point and a half.
the
Yeah, but not like, yeah.
The discourse around this game is that the Bills are going to win.
Yeah, yep.
There's not a lot of the Chiefs are not being afforded. Heck, by the way, with the line that you just said, they're not even favored by 3 at home, and they're the two-time defending Super Bowl champions.
All true. Yep.
30.
So I think they're being disrespected. I'm with you. I think they win. And a lot of people aren't going to like it. I mean, it's not going to be the fun outcome, but I think it is going to be the outcome. Chiefs, I agree with you. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly, like a 20-17.
That's what I got 21-17. I see it the same way. All right, fly safe, buddy.
Same.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly safe.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. The great Dr. Z joining from the Newark Airport security line. Very good.
Get back in it.
We're back Monday for more fun and frivolity. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, buddy. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.